Thank you, Mr. Krishna, and thank you, Flint Lab, for your generous support. Ladies and gentlemen, up next we have an insightful session that promises to delve into one of the most transformative areas of technology, generative AI and LLMS. This session is divided into two segments, a keynote address followed by a dynamic panel discussion. It is my absolute privilege to invite our distinguished keynote speaker, Dr. Shailesh Kumar, Chief Data Scientist at COE AI/ML Reliance Jio. Dr. Kumar is a pioneer in the field of AI and machine learning, with profound contributions to shaping the future of human-AI collaboration. Please help me welcome Dr. Kumar with a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, sir.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm sure all of us are hungry, but I'm going to give you some food for thought before the lunch. Yeah? So, I'm going to talk about the future of human-AI collaboration, and the word is collaboration, right? So, if you think about the relationship between mankind and AI or any other technology, it is really the parent-child relationship. Think of how AI has reached this stage today. It's because all of humanity has helped it get there, right? We all put the websites, we all use the search engines, and we made it better over time, right? So, it's really a collaboration between humanity and the technology. And what happens at some point when the child grows to a 15-year-old or an 18-year-old, it kind of becomes independent, right? And that's where the stage of AI is, and it's a very interesting time for all of us. I'm also going to talk about another theme, which is how do we go from assisted to ecosystem intelligence? And this is going to set the stage for how do we create a $1 trillion economy out of AI. So we all know AI is probably, one of the most important and interesting technologies. Compared to 5G, 3D printer, AR, VR, and every other technology, AI is very different. And this is something that we'll understand when we understand that it's not a software technology, it's a meta software technology. And the promise of AI that we see here has still not reached the masses. And this is one of the great innovations of the next 2 decades will be. We have really solved very few, very important problems, right? Building a search engine for the world, building a shortest routing for Google Map. We have solved problems in Netflix recommendation, Amazon recommendation. But really, if you ask a farmer or a teacher or a student or a doctor or a patient, what has AI done for them? We are not there yet, right? So the next 20 years is going to be a social transformation with AI. Last 20 years was a technological and commercial transformation from AI, right? So how do we get there, right? We heard a lot of vision statements. And one of the first things I heard from Mr. Ambani was, hey Shailesh, if you have a vision but you don't have execution, a vision without execution is illusion. And that's what he told me the first day I met him. So I said, oh man, right? So we have to live up to all the vision that we heard, and how do we execute towards that, right? And that is something that we'll talk about. So the idea is that, if you look at AI's evolution by itself, right? We have evolved AI from the ability to learn, to the ability to, understand whether it is gene sequence or COVID virus or a video, to the ability to think, how do we drive cars and play games of chess and AlphaGo, to the ability to create, which is the 4th skill in AI. Now we can generate all kinds of things, music and all of that. And what we are worried about is the next stage of AI. So the 4 stages of AI we have mastered in some sense. And the 5th stage is really making all of us tremble. Especially the gurus of AI are worried about what if the 5th stage of AI comes, which is AI becomes sentient itself, right? It doesn't need humans to do prompt engineering, right? And we don't know if what is going on in New Jersey is a result of that, right? Now, if I look at the collaboration between human and AI, it has also evolved, right? We've started using AI as just assistive, right? Just give me a search result for something, correct my grammar on Grammarly, things like that. And there, the role of human was a lot more compared to AI. Then we went to augmented AI, where we are now working with AI as a partner, and we'll see some examples of that. And now we are heading into what I call autonomous intelligence, which is, do I need humans at all in doing complex things? You cannot run a complex system with humans in the loop, so can I make it more and more autonomous? And my 2 additional things to this is what I call proactive intelligence. That means, can something drive intelligence automatically instead of human in the loop, doing an LLM-based agentic workflow? And finally, I wanted to really talk about what I call ecosystem intelligence, and what are ecosystems and how do we have to upskill ourselves to think differently about AI in that. And the role of AI will dominate, slowly increase in all of this, right? Now, I'll share some ideas and I'll share an insight along with that idea. So let's first talk about use cases and applications in the context of this. Imagine a farmer speaking in any of the 22 Indian languages, wants an advisory. We need speech to text in 22 Indian languages, and thanks to the Bhashini project and Bharat GPT and all of that, this is going well. And then we are going to need an AI expert instead of a human expert who is well versed. We need a farmer profile, we need satellite data, we need weather data, we need IoT data. Now look at the level of precision and depth that AI will have to give a very precise advisory to each farmer in the country is possible, right? We need hundreds of startups to build this kind of an ecosystem, and the result is we give them auto-generated, content for what he needs. We give him action, we supply the fertilizer if he needs, and all of this should happen. Now the main lesson here is the following. When I joined Reliance, before that I used to think in terms of models. Can I build a great search engine? Can I build a great recommendation engine? So we think in terms of models. Now I don't think in terms of models, I think in terms of workflows. There is no such thing as a model sitting separately outside a workflow. So the first lesson I learned is don't think about models, think about workflows. And workflows will have AI and other technologies in it. So start thinking about workflow backwards, not model forward. So this is an example of assisted intelligence where somebody is looking for that. Although it is not implemented, we will want to get there. Another very important project we worked on is, we all know the healthcare problems in India. The most of the burden on healthcare is because of doctor-patient ratio, which is very poor in India, especially in the rural countries. Now, one of the lessons I learned is, if you want to AIfy any sector, let's say healthcare, the first thing you need to do is find the most important and critical problem in that sector to solve first. Like if you want to build a car, the most important problem to solve is the engine, not the AC. And that is a message to all startups that, look for the most critical problem to solve. And the most critical problem in healthcare to solve is not supply chain of pharmacy and medicine. It is not creating hospitals. It is really diagnosis. Correct diagnosis, assisted preclinical diagnosis AI system that talks to you like this thing. And now there is a doctor sitting on top of the AI output saying, is this correct or do I need to fix it? And then depending on the top 5 diagnoses, can I now say what investigation to do based on the top 5 diagnoses? Again, assisted investigation by AI. Then doctor is going to confirm. And then the reports are uploaded, and again AI is going to look at the post-clinical diagnosis, your blood test and X-ray. And again a doctor is going to confirm it. And then assisted prescription based on other medicines you are taking and side effects. Again a doctor is going to confirm it, and then you get your curative done, right? So the big lesson here is, this is what I call augmented AI. That means there is AI supporting a human expert, a doctor, and they work together with each other. This is a collaboration between AI and all that, and it will really scale up the way we do diagnosis, right? Anybody at home sitting on a WhatsApp in their own language can talk to a chatbot and do their diagnosis, and an ambulance is sent to them if it is critical and all of that. So the key lesson here is, what is the role of humans in this world, in the post-AI world? The role of the human will become that of a curator of what the AI is generating, not a creator himself. So A.R. Rahman will create music with AI and curate it. A news anchor is going to use AI to generate a news article and curate it. An X-ray person is going to let AI generate a report and curate it. A doctor will let AI do the diagnosis and curate it. So we understand that we are moving from creator to curator, and we need to start looking at that. Another very important area is autonomous AI, right? And I was very frustrated when I saw a news report a couple of months ago when there was a guy in a women's hostel stabbing a girl. She died, and then, the camera was catching all that. And, afterwards we figured out that there's a camera, and the camera was recording all this, but it is a dumb camera. And it's a shame that we have millions of cameras across the country and we have not stopped crime against women. So how do we do that? Do we need an LLM and a human to look at cameras and do an agentic workflow? Or should I think differently, right? Should I say, hey, every camera in the world is generating a video event every 5 seconds. I can put an AI which is detect action. If it's a normal action, don't do anything. If it's a harmful action, the first thing you can do is raise an alarm on the camera right away. And that is the first deterrent. You can detect faces. We have Aadhaar databases now. We have DigiYatra and all of that capability. And then you can identify who is doing it, notify authority, you identify the victim and notify the family, right? There is no agentic, there is no LLM. All you are doing is connecting what I call sensors to actions. And I'm not talking about one startup doing this. There are 3 startups doing this, coming together. So this is the other big lesson. Startup by itself is giving one orange box. Another startup is giving me another orange box. We need a framework to put it all together. Yeah? And that is where we need to start thinking differently about how do we come together and all that. So now, how do we develop this mindset of automation, extreme automation everywhere? Like electricity is extremely automated, right? The production, distribution, consumption of electricity with a tap, you can turn on a light, it's extremely automated. How do we get to a stage where AI is also as automated that we don't even feel its presence? We just turn on the switch. So how do we get to that, right? My favorite thing is now I want proactive intelligence. I don't want intelligence to stop at one place. I want one output to drive another output. So think about a farmer taking a picture of a crop. One startup, let's say, has built a model to identify the crop in this stage. Another startup takes that event and identifies what is the stress in the crop. Another startup has built an irrigation advisory system, and another startup has built a system to turn on and turn off the tube wells using IoT, right? If it's a water problem. If it's a nutrition problem, again, there is another startup who has done fertilizer advisory, and you can do that, pest advisory, and then suddenly ISRO wants to come in and say, hey, we want to contribute. How can I help? And then you have some startup doing same thing with satellite data or drone data, right? So what is the point here? The point is, again, I'm not thinking in terms of models, I'm thinking in terms of workflows. I'm not thinking in terms of one workflow, I'm thinking in terms of multiple workflows. One workflow does the detection, 3 other workflows take actions on that detection. And each orange box, think of it as a verb of the system, and think of each blue box as a noun of the system, right? What is the data object? What can you do with it? What all can you do with it? So if you think like that, we will build very beautiful ecosystems like this, which are, and my learning in big companies, small companies is, we keep solving for accuracy. Let me improve the accuracy of my model before I go to a VC. Accuracy is not a problem anymore. Interoperability is the problem. If you acquire many systems, they don't talk to each other. Do you think electricity grid will work if you don't have interoperability? 5G will work if you don't have interoperability, right? Airline system will work if you don't have interoperability. Interoperability is the main problem to solve. Accuracy will continue to improve over time. Right? So that is what I call the 5th stage of intelligence, called the ecosystem intelligence. So if I think about the products of the future, next 20 years, we're not going to talk about Gen AI in 22 languages and all that. We're going to talk about something completely different. So if you look at the evolution of products from physical products, which are intelligent in their own way, programmed intelligence, to the next generation product in the last 20 years, to where we are going in the future, which is what I call ecosystem as products, right? So if you think of one smart city as one product, that is a product, right? Not one building, not one stadium, not one car, but a whole smart city is a product. So that is what the future is, and we are going to be able to think of, the entire telecom network as one product, not just a cell phone. Think of the entire refinery as one product, not just, this thing. Don't think of one drone as a product, but think of the entire agriculture ecosystem of a country or a state as one product, right? Or a healthcare or an e-commerce system, right? So these are the products of the future. We have started building them, but we are building them in a very old-fashioned technology, right? So what we are doing is, we don't have an operating system for these products, right? So now let me talk about how do you think about a vertical as a whole. So think of retail as a vertical and saying what does ecosystem for retail mean So you need to think about all the workflows in detail, right? So one workflow is how do you get all the orders. One workflow is how do you do demand forecasting. One workflow is how do you do supply of the products. Another workflow is how do you build a profiling engine and recommendation. Another workflow is your replenishment engine, right? Can you break down the vertical into the 5 top workflows and show the connection? This is the skill that I want our students to learn next. See, building an AI model is an old skill. ChatGPT can do it for you. The skill we need to learn is get into a domain that we love, healthcare or whatever, think about the entirety of the domain and say what does an operating system of the domain look like? What are all the 20 workflows in it? How do I define a workflow in terms of functions and events? If you can put this diagram together for all the workflows of the country, we will have a master plan. We don't have a master plan today. Today what do? We fund startup A, startup B. We don't have a master plan, right? And that's why our cities look like what they do, right? Wherever we have a master plan, we have a great plan. So this is the fourth mindset we need to develop, which is an operating system mindset. How do we start thinking about AI in a top-down fashion, not as a bottom-up fashion? Now we can fund startups and say, you all build this box, you all build this box. But if we don't build it properly without interoperability, then we are all going to create what I call a digital slum, right? So the theme that I'm working on now is I don't build AI models, I build what I call ecosystem operating systems. That is what I do now. So what has happened in the past, a bank has acquired many vendor products and they don't talk to each other. So now there is a army of humans who download something from this, upload something here and somehow run the banking system or the retail system or the smart city or the security or the defense. Nobody has a proper operating system because we have created collection of products that is not a digital platform. A collection of non-interoperable products is not a digital platform, right? So what we want a digital smart city, if you will, right? How do we get there? We can't get there by funding 10,000 startups and not having a vision to integrate their outputs into a common platform. If we don't have that vision, we can keep funding startups. They will all die because, a farmer doesn't want one thing. He wants all the 20 things, right? And he doesn't want, he wants an operating system for agriculture, for example. What does that mindset mean? So think about all the events in agriculture. Think about all the digital twins of every farm, every farmer, every equipment. Think of all AI models. And imagine an agriculture operating system generating in real time all the advisories to every farmer every morning. You need to water, you don't need to water, you need to put this fertilizer. It is advising the government what to export, what to import, looking at demand forecasting, right? You understand that an operating system mindset is critical, and I can do that for all the domains, right? And I can say what are the input events in healthcare, what are the output events in healthcare, what are all the AI models we need to build, and how do we get there, right? Same thing I can do in education. Again, I can think about input events and output events, and the complexity is in the middle, all the workflows working together autonomously without any help, and all the models getting trained automatically, and everything will just work, right? So there's a whole 2-hour talk that I do on this. How do we build this? So the idea is we first build a core operating system, which doesn't understand events, any domain, right? It only understands events and functions and Kafka queues. On top of it, we build one agri OS for the whole world. One education OS, one healthcare OS for the whole world. And then the customers are every, state government is a customer of an agri OS. And it connects to that. Every, type of health system is a customer. Every kind of school is a customer of the operating system. Because if you think about it, what does a bank A and a bank do? They are doing exactly the same thing. The operating system is the same, right? Our digestive system, our bodies are all exactly the same. We are not creating different bodies. So that is the operating system mindset. And if I think about, what is the scope of work for the next 20 years for all the startups and everyone. So think about all these operating systems that we need in the country. For everything, right, we can improve if we have an operating system mindset for all that. So now hopefully you understand the scope of work is enormous. We don't need 10 lakh, we need probably 10 million data scientists and engineers and all of them to work together. Pick your OS and come together, right, in an ecosystem and say we are all working for this operating system. What do? And we design a platform. Yeah? So that's where we want to go. So if you work backwards, many sectors, many beneficiaries, each one using many applications, each one has many AI services. Within that, there are different types of AI services. Who is going to build on that? So our vision is that big companies will do some things, Google and Microsoft. Startups will do something, education will do something. So the way we integrate and collaborate between all the people, all the stakeholders, is to first create an operating system vision and then allocating who is good at what to do what they need to do. Yeah? So this is a video I want to just play. You can play that. So this is the Machli app we created, right? We all talk about Machli. So audio is not coming. So the idea was that whenever we click on the English language, the audio comes, right? Currently the audio is not coming. So the problem is now this guy is choose language it says. So this guy is an expert in Machli and all of that, what fishermen need. But he doesn't want his app to be in English. He doesn't want his app to be only text. He wants the app to be speech first in 10 Indian coastal languages. So he's a consumer of AI. Now imagine somewhere in the country, in some university or some PhD student goes to another website called AI Marketplace for India. He uploads a Telugu text-to-speech model. He doesn't know that this app even exists. Like your farmer doesn't know that you exist to eat his potato. The consumer doesn't know the producer exists. You don't know your phone number of your Ola driver, right? Now what happens? Suddenly this app has become speech enabled because somewhere somebody in the country uploaded that first model for doing what he wants to do. This is what I call the AI marketplace, right? So now let me talk about the 4 AI DPIs that we need in the country. One is the data stack. Our data stack is still very poor. There's a whole session we can do on what the data stack should look like. Then we need operating systems for each vertical, sitting on those data stacks, right? So what does the data stack for agriculture look like and healthcare look like? And then how do we build an operating system which is AI and proactive and all of that? Then we need an AI marketplace where all of us can contribute AI models of our choice, and the models will improve because whosoever model is better is going to be picked up by the system. And finally what we need is what I call a super app for every vertical. I don't need 200 apps that a farmer should download, one to check the weather, one to check this, one to do that, one to order this. He should have a single super app. All of us can contribute in the back end, right? Single super app for a teacher, for a student, for a principal. Every stakeholder in every vertical should have everything they need in one place, right? And that would be amazing. And they are all connected systems. These are the 4 DPIs that India needs next, apart from the DPIs we have already built, identity and data, right? So just the last slide, right? How do we get there? Digitize everything. Today also we are doing handwritten homeworks. That is an enormous amount of data our students are generating, we are not capturing that. Handwritten, prescriptions by a doctor. So digitize everything, standardize everything. Without standards, nothing will work. No interoperability happens without standardization. Abstract out from technology. This is very important. Design principles, software engineers know this. If I'm asking for address of a customer in a retail app, I don't need to know what database you are using at the bottom, right? So that is abstraction. So how do we design abstraction everywhere? I don't need to know whether I'm using LLM from this company or that company, right? I just call an API. Then automate everything. Without that, we will not get scale. Make everything intelligent and improve over time. Integration, integrate everything in an operating system mode. Democratize everything. Don't say that only this IIT Mandi will build these models and IIT Guwahati will build these models. Don't say that. Just democratize it, but we need an AI marketplace platform so that everybody can contribute. Make things for inclusion. Don't make it for urban, English-speaking, tech-savvy people. That's what we do. One of the mistakes we do is we build like the Americans do, right? For the tech-savvy, English-speaking. We need to build solutions for the masses. They should work in all languages. They should be speech first. Those are the work based on skills and interests. Okay? Thank you. I'm here for all the help that I can do.
Provide a compelling vision for the future. We deeply appreciate your time and expertise. May I please request Mr. Ravi Banda from Square, our event sponsor, to please come up on stage to felicitate Dr. Kumar.